Hey, Dr. Webb. This week's Reflect and Connect is on the Gillespie article on selecting music for your orchestra. And this is just, essential for music educators because you are responsible for picking your repertoire. You need to know what's going to be successful for your students, and you also have to know what pieces to pick that capture all your goals for what you want to teach to your students. To kick off the article, the first step that Gillespie gives us into picking effective music for orchestra is to predetermine the music needs of your concert season. And what this step means is planning out what music you need for your concerts. You need to know how many concerts you have, if there's a theme, who's playing on the concerts, how many groups, all that sort of thing. Like what the instrumentation is, and then are there going to be like additional performances? Who is going to be the audience, and things of that nature. And you use that to kind of narrow down the type of music that you want to pick. Once you know what your concert schedule, what the themes are, and that sort of thing, once you know what that looks like, then you can move on to step 2. And according to Gillespie, step 2 is to determine the playing skills of your students. Now, during the first week, this might be hard, but you can kind of just pick out a piece and maybe start working on it with them. And if they get through it really easy, then you can kind of base the rest of the music you look on off of that. Or vice versa, if you give them a piece of music that's too hard, that might be another way to determine their skill level. And you can also determine what concepts they can or can't do based off of what you teach in class on a day-to-day basis, or how they perform in lessons. This goes to like what notes, what registers they can play in, bow strokes, what keys, and other things of that nature. Moving on, step 3, according to Gillespie, is to evaluate a piece of music. And this comes from picking out music and you as the educator looking through it and deciding if it meets the needs of your student. And that comes down to a couple more factors. And that comes from if it is playable and if it has like notes and rhythms that are familiar to your students. If it's interesting, if it's something the students like, if it's fun, or if it sounds nice. If the melody is readily available to all parts, or if each part is interesting. You need to make sure that, especially in the strings, that like the lower strings get more involvement sometimes, so that way they don't grow to be bored. And then is there are there expressive devices and phrasings and stuff like that in the piece, or is it formatted the way that you like? Is the score easy to read? Things of that way. Or are there fingerings that are available for students? Stuff like that. And Gillespie provides a couple different examples of just short scores, as well as just like a paragraph analysis for each one, giving you things to look for in these examples that you can then ask yourself what you're looking for in music that you pick out for yourself. Once you've evaluated a piece of music, you can also determine if it applies to the national standards or how you can use that piece to apply it, things of that nature. And then step 4 is to match the music to your purposes. And this comes from if the music that you pick and evaluate is applicable to your students and the concert season. And that pretty much just comes from checking out all the boxes from the previous steps that we've laid out. Does it fit the concert program? Does it fit the technical abilities of the students? Does it spread the melody around? Is it interesting? Is it something that the students will relate to or understand? Does it have a historical aspect? Things of that nature. Again, does it cover a wide range of styles? Are you spreading out the different genres and periods of music of time when you're getting your music from? And then it just says, it gives another checklist. Gillespie gives a checklist, and then they say if you can answer the questions positively, then the piece is probably a good choice. So if you can go through, ask yourself all the things for the previous steps, and if you can answer them positively, then it's probably a good piece for your orchestra. To conclude, much of the success of orchestra teaching in school depends on the music that the students perform. Thus, you picking out the music is key for your students' success. I can think of back in orchestra when we'd have music that's too easy, and I feel like this group wouldn't learn anything. If we have music that's too hard, nobody's learning everything. You got to pick music that's right, kind of to go back to foundations in the zone of proximal development, where it's just hard enough where you can learn something, but it's still within the grasp of the group. And I think if you can pick music that fits the concert season, your students like, they have fun, and they sound good while doing it, you'll be off to a great start for picking repertoire.